Everyone that wants to fight this system is screaming, and I mean everyone, is screaming about how dare they do this? What's on their mind? What are we going to do? Drag them down, bring them down, and nothing gets done. My philosophy is let them go ahead and do that. If they want to put something in the law, or they want to do this and thing, you let them do it. It's a Taoist principle to give evil a lot of room. And as you said, it does go quite deep. There's a philosophy behind that. All Taoists, and I use that word specifically, Taoists, which is people who know what the hell life is all about, they know that evil contains within it the seeds of its own destruction. So if something is going to fall, get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a secondary plus about doing that. It's the same plus that you do when some drunk comes over at 12 o'clock at night and wants to, tell you his life story about 2 inches away from your face. Or when some bully comes up in a bar and wants to shove a beer bottle in your face. You get out of the way.
Yeah.
When you see something that's corrupt and malicious and rotten, you step aside and let it do whatever it wants to do. You disempower it by disconnecting. I don't mean disconnecting like a bunch of jaded middle-class guys living in a suburb. Like, I just don't want to know about it. Turn the channel. That's not what I mean. I mean a positive, proactive, intelligent, aware, and totally centered detachment from the conflict, because all vampires feed on the energy that you give them.
That's right.
And we haven't got time to go into this whole paradigm here, but that's what I mean by stepping away from it. Let them do it, because when you have the legal power, in your own quiet moment, you can rebut it. But the people who don't want to go and learn about that legal power will get up right into the face of the system, and like some crazed out Bill O'Reilly on speed, and just want to, drag it down and fight it and kill it and do it. And you know all that does? It helps them strengthen their rules, which is exactly the draconian New World Order situation that you've got now, where everybody who's been fighting the system in that way is going to be in trouble, big trouble. Big Brother is coming after you. They've got your number, and they're going to, you've actually assisted them in getting this far, because you haven't done what is holistic. You haven't stepped into your own power. You haven't contacted the forces, like Charles Lindbergh said, will be there when you open yourself to the mystery, like when he was flying his plane across the Atlantic. These men of mystery, these men of science, these men of artistry knew Aikido. They knew how to step aside. Bruce Lee, become like water, my friend, right?
Yeah.
The wisdom that underlies all of this is the softest and the weakest and the gentlest thing in the world, but it can erode continents, is water. That's the power that you need to embody. That is the only way that you can gain the so-called spiritual direction. The moment that you go into a vibration of conflict, anger, and I mean red anger, there's actually, again, anger's been misinterpreted, but I don't want to get into that right now. Just let's use the word. The red anger, any of these lower vibrations which are born out of survival and limbic responses, you see, and this whole reptilian brain thing, that is only going to empower those people, because that's ultimately what they want.
Well, that's a very good point, because again, fighting the New World Order in that sense ain't going to help, because that's by the way they bring in more laws and put more police on the streets, the more rioting. That's why they even put in their own agents provocateurs in many of these peaceful demonstrations, because they know if they can stir it up enough, then they can, next time they have a top meeting of politicians or bankers or what have you, instigate even more control and put up more cameras and all of these things, So
which they've been doing.
Yeah.
We're living in it. We have made it. The man who does not occupy his center. They teach it in every martial arts course. It's a fundamental of Taoism, somewhat of Zen. There's some obscure aspects of Hinduism, like Jainism, and not all Jainism, but certain aspects of Jainism teach this. Most shaman classes would teach this. The Druids certainly taught this. And it's a universal law. Once you are so strong in your own sovereignty, in your own understanding, you never need to confront. In fact, it's the last thing you want to do. It's a spiritual law that's very, very difficult to understand, but it's fundamental. You disengage, and you by ignoring, literally by ignoring the rants of this bestial thing, you disempower it. And your final, and part of that strengthening of your own immunity is this legalistic empowerment, using their own system against them in a very cold, calculating, way in which you use their own power. Why do you think I talk so much about psychology? Because I always emphasize that they are the ones who know all about your psychology, just like we were saying.
Yeah.
So you need to learn it, because that's what we talked about in the DVD as well. You need to get up to speed on it like nobody's business, because they are using these psychological powers over you. It was the same thing with the legal. Now, how many times, again, I reiterate this, how many times have you heard people say, when are we going to do this? What are we going to do? How do we fight them back? On talk shows, on radio shows, on podcasts, and books, in the streets. Everyone is telling you that they need to fight back, and not one person tells you how.
Yeah.